Hello, my name is Kayla Huntington, and I would like to talk a little bit about what my future autistic support classroom would look like on a typical day. I think no matter what role or position you take on as an educator, you should strive to create a fun, positive, and safe learning environment for your students. And I believe that all starts with the rapport you build with your students. That's simply taking the time to get to know your students individually and creating relationships with your students so they feel comfortable within the classroom and also motivated to learn as well. Along with that, it is vital to implement classroom rules so students know what is expected of them and also how they are expected to treat others within the classroom as well. While building rapport and creating a positive learning atmosphere within the classroom is important, another component within my future autistic support classroom is the layout of the classroom itself. I think it is very important to have a predictable layout. With that being said, by predictable, I mean the students know what the area is used for. It's used for the same thing, same activity each day, and clearly labeling the different spaces within the room with both words and pictures to increase independence among the students and then also to clearly define the space and the area in the classroom so the students can discriminate what it is utilized for. The types of spaces I would incorporate within my classroom would be a distinct area for carpet time or a morning meeting to gather with the class. Another area I would use distinctly for guided reading. I would have a teacher table for one-on-one time with the students or working on independent tasks with them. I would also have an area designated for students to take a break, and if they're feeling overstimulated or needing stimulation, I would incorporate items such as a carpet for them to sprawl out on, again, if they need to calm down if they're feeling overwhelmed. I would also have objects readily available such as large yoga balls, bean bags, and also items with different textures, again, to fill the needs of that sensory stimulation particular to that student. On a typical day in my classroom, as soon as the students would walk in, each student would have their own schedule that they would follow. I would say we would first start off by a Kubi routine. There would be strict routine within the classroom daily. The students would unpack. Again, by their Kubis, I would have instructions on, what they're to do first. They hang up their book bag, they hang up their jacket, they take out their homework, they take out their books that we need for the day. They would go and do their lunch order and so on. Each schedule that I would utilize for the students would be very specific and individualized for that student's specific need within the classroom. And with the schedule itself, I would incorporate, again, both words and pictures so that the students can easily determine what they need to do and what is being asked of them. As I mentioned, I would use pictures with words to clearly label items in the room, areas in the room, and then to also use them on the students' individualized schedules to help them with transition throughout the day. Here, courtesy of Teachers Pay Teachers, I have some examples of pictures I would personally use in my classroom when talking about work tasks. So if a student would be transitioning to life skills classroom, if they are going to be working on table time or at table time, if they will be at workshop, if they'll be at desk work, and so on. This is just another example I was able to find on Teachers Pay Teachers that I would incorporate within my own classroom. I could use these on a whole group schedule to notify the students of a change that may be coming. Or it can be used on their own individual schedules. Again, with the simplistic pictures and also the words, it works for any of the students, even if they may not be able to read, or if they are nonverbal, they're able to point and utilize these for communication as well. So again, my classroom would be very structured, very detailed with the labels and incorporating the positive atmosphere. Another aspect that you would see if you were to walk in my autistic support classroom would be data collection. And upon data collection, you would need to know the IEP goals for each student. And I think a way to utilize time efficiently within the classroom would be to see how many students you have and also the types of goals that they are needing to meet, and seeing if you could possibly group the students in order to work on similar goals with maybe 2 groups, and rather than having to split it up for individual sessions with each child. While I mentioned grouping students based on common goals, no student is identical, and different skills may not work for every student in that group. Autism is a very broad spectrum, and each child is unique. It may take many trials to meet that goal. With that being said, there are many programs that are out there that can be used within the classroom to help students reach their IEP goals. For example, if a student's goal was to improve socialization, such as initiating communication with peers by asking questions, I would schedule time to work on social stories with that student. Essentially, a social story would be you are telling a story on how to do a skill. And it's not just simply saying, well, this is how you're going to do it, and the student understands and then it's done. The key to a social story is breaking it down step by step as you would for a task analysis, and also using visual representation to help the student understand, and then practicing that skill in a controlled environment and reinforcing the student when it was done correctly. And then the hope is that the student will then apply it in a generalized setting. All in all, it's vital that no matter what setting the student is in during the day, whether it's the autistic support classroom, regular ed setting, or during specials, that they're receiving adequate support in order to work towards their goals in the IEP. With that being said, transition plays a large role in the student's daily life. And as a future autistic support teacher, within my classroom, something I would ensure is the students have ample warning of the transitions. For example, I would use visual cues, again, as I mentioned earlier with the schedules, so the students would know when the transition would be occurring. However, another idea I would use is the use of a timer, so that the students would have the visual warning and then also have the auditory warning, and would be something that they could get used to again, and build a routine around. I think it's also important to notify the students if there is going to be a change in their routine. So making sure that they're aware in their own personal schedules, as well as maybe the classroom schedule for the day, and taking the time to discuss the change. If it might be a fire drill, letting the students know that today right after lunch, instead of going to guided reading, we're going to have a fire drill that will last about 10 minutes. And just taking the time to talk about it with them and keep reminding the students that it's something that's going to occur, it's going to be a difference, but it's not going to affect them. They'll get through it, and just ensure and reinforce that it is something that we will all get through together and we'll support one another.